Hark, I am known as Ryan, aged 20 and 7 years, and upon the last Thanksgiving did transpire an event which my kin now doth call the reunion. Not for the warmth or the joy that might have graced the occasion, but rather for the solemnity of knowing it was the final gathering where all could dwell beneath one roof ere discord would mar the scene. To speak truly, I had not intended to venture forth that year. Life hath been a tangled web. Upon the recent change of my vocation, following a most unfortunate dismissal, I found myself adrift between various abodes, laboring for the past 2 years to extricate myself from a dismal state, of which I was blissfully unaware. My mother did implore me to attend, asserting it would be most beneficial to be in the company of all, which, upon reflection, doth strike me as most amusing. Though my kin be not of grand number, we possess sufficient souls to occupy a dwelling, particularly when the younger generation of cousins doth arrive with their offspring. The gathering took place at my Uncle Tim's abode this time, a grand residence in the outskirts, with lofty ceilings and expansive windows that bestow upon one the sensation of being within a splendid catalogue. Mine Aunt Valerie, the younger sister of Uncle Tim, hath flown in from yonder distant land. This tale revolves around that very figure. Valerie hath ever been most boisterous. Lo, she doth enter the chamber, and forthwith the voices of all present do rise by a third, as if enchanted by her presence. She is of the sort who doth speak at thee, rather than with thee. And shouldst thou ever declare thyself in fine fettle, she doth, with an air of enigma, proclaim her own state to be even more splendid. Forsooth, evermore. My mother oft proclaimed that her insecurities were the root of her troubles, yet with the passage of time, such a rationale doth grow weary and lack substance. In our youthful days, she would oft set me and her son Jordan in rivalry, as if we were characters in a tale of old. Each contest of letters, each match upon the court, and even the swiftness with which we concluded our repast. In my youthful ignorance, I failed to perceive the truth, yet as the years unfurled, it became evident that she orchestrated a rivalry, driven by her desire for Jordan to emerge victorious. It mattered not that I perceived it otherwise. Her vision was distinct. She doth still. Verily, on the eve of the gathering, I found myself reclined upon my modest settee, perusing through employment opportunities one had no intention of pursuing, when lo, a message awaited me in the form of a voicemail. It came from the fair Valerie. That took me by surprise. We had not been particularly intimate, and she had not even reached out to me through text. Perchance I would declare it to be 3 years hence? With a gentle press upon the play button, my curiosity piqued. I found myself sitting upright in eager anticipation. Voice did pierce the air, sharp and clear as a bell. Am at a loss as to why Tim did extend an invitation to him. Shame upon us. True vocation, devoid of companionship, merely squandering the hours in a charade of self-discovery or some such folly. Age of 30 summers. Declare to Jordan, should he find himself in such a plight, I would cast him from my kin. Moment of stillness, a whisper of movement, and then she pressed onward. Wish he would not make his presence known. Been most peculiar. Time he endeavored to pursue the art of jesting upon the stage for a full year? What a jest indeed. Wit most assuredly intended. Mine belly did plummet with dismay. At the outset, I found myself unable to complete the remainder. Found myself seated, gazing upward at the ceiling as though it held the answers to unspoken queries, beckoning me to unravel its mysteries. Yet been kindled. State of perplexity. I found myself beset by a sense of shame. Feel that wretched tightening of the gut when whispers of thy name reach thine ears, confirming every dread thou hast harbored regarding their perception of thee? Was as though the echoes of youth returned, where the favored few did jest and mock, their laughter ringing in the air, all centered upon the folly of one's coiffure. On 2 occasions. Second hearing, a spark ignited within me. Not the inaugural occasion upon which Valerie had rendered me diminutive, yet perchance it was the first instance wherein I possessed tangible evidence of such a slight. Proof, and not merely any proof, but her very own voice, laced with a haughty disdain and oozing with malice. Mind regarding its fate, yet I was resolute in my decision to hold fast to it. Day of giving thanks did arrive. Few moments past the appointed hour, seeking to avoid the distinction of being the inaugural guest. Path was already thronged with chariots. Thus I did park mine down the lane, and proceeded on foot to ascend the way. Opening of the portal, a cacophony assailed mine ears, children wailing, the clanging of vessels, and a hearty laughter echoing from the kitchen's depths. Scent of fowl and spice, mingled with a facade of merriment, merged seamlessly with the shadows that surrounded me. Not endure. Coat could find its resting place. The melodious tones of Valerie did resound through the air. I didst turn mine gaze to behold her radiant countenance, arms outstretched as though we were kindred spirits reunited after many a year apart. Behold thyself. Thou hast accomplished it. I didst summon a smile, though it was but a mask upon my visage. Forsooth, I shan't let this opportunity pass me by. Gesture both fervent and theatrical, then withdrew to gaze upon my countenance. Engaged in that endeavor? Matter of independent endeavor? Manner, I did declare. Am engaged in several endeavors. Eyebrow, a sly smile playing upon her lips. The esteemed firm. Heads high with great pride. Spend the ensuing hour adrift amidst discourse, striving to elude her presence, yet it seemed as though she were drawn to me by some unseen force. Time I fancied a moment of escape. She appeared, ever the reminder that Jordan had taken to the bonds of engagement, that he had acquired yet another estate, and that the prospect of his name gracing the pages of a legal tome loomed near. Have not yet laid mine eyes upon Jordan, the seller, much like I longed to do. Moment most curious, I ventured forth to procure some cranberry sauce, and lo, Valerie did accompany me to the kitchen. Heard tell that thou hast relocated once more, she uttered, filled with concern. Be a most arduous endeavor, flitting about with such vigor. Season of thy life, the essence of stability doth hold great significance. I thank thee, I murmured, striving to avoid a forceful closure of the fridge door, voice dripping with sweetness that set my teeth on edge. Art, yet in the midst of unraveling the mysteries of life. Seems that certain souls tarry longer than their counterparts. Was the essence of it. Restrain my words, yet this was the final straw. Care, you place the cranberry sauce upon the table, for there is no need to feign kindness. Encounter her gaze. Message upon the device of voices last eve. Perceive all that transpired. Such swiftness that I feared she might indeed succumb to a swoon. Lips parted, then sealed once more, as if she sought a reply, yet found herself at a loss. First time in her existence, she found herself bereft of words. Depart ere she could regain her composure, my heart pounding fiercely within my breast. Chamber of living, where the kinfolk were assembled in merry company. I endeavored to maintain a semblance of nonchalance, engaging in light discourse with my cousin Ellie regarding her canine companion, yet I sensed the piercing gaze of Valerie upon the nape of my neck. The evening repast commenced shortly thereafter. At a lengthy table, merriment abounds as all partake in the passing of delectable dishes, laughter echoing through the air. Seemed to approach the realm of the ordinary, yet Valerie remained silent. Way, as though I were in possession of a most perilous device. Believe she was beseeching the heavens that I might remain silent. Uncle Tim rose to deliver his customary expression of gratitude for kinship. Moment, Valerie resolved to embrace a performance worthy of the grandest stage, and that we find ourselves united in this moment. Her visage, behold thee once more, my dear. Eyes were drawn upon me, countenance of triumph, as though she believed herself the victor of some grand contest. In that moment, I rose to my feet. I did not elevate my tone. Mine visage bore no trace of ire. I have but expressed my gratitude, dear Valerie. In truth, I found myself in doubt as to whether I ought to grace this gathering with my presence this year. Yet, upon receiving thy missive left in the ether, I was compelled to ponder. There came a pause, a moment of stillness in the air. What message dost thou speak of? She inquired with haste. I didst withdraw mine device from mine pocket. The missive thou didst unwittingly dispatch to me on the eve that hath just passed. She didst shake her head, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. Verily, I am at a loss to comprehend thy words. If thou dost desire, I shall perform it for all to hear. And thus, the chamber fell into a profound hush. Valerie's visage did quiver with a subtle tremor. Her smile did wane, quivering at the edges like a withering visage. Each gaze at that table didst shift from my countenance to hers, and then returned once more to mine. The merry sounds of conversation and the gentle clatter of utensils had descended into utter stillness. The younglings at yonder distant end fell into a hushed stillness, perceiving that a momentous event was afoot. The customary revelries of the Thanksgiving feast. Voice faltered, betraying her trepidation. Discern I had her ensnared. Not elevate my tone. Not compelled to do so. Surface of mind device. Traversed through the archive of my recorded messages, and did press the play button. Voice did grace the chamber with its presence. Endure the presence of Ryan. Am at a loss as to why Tim did extend an invitation to him. It was most wondrously surreal, as if gazing upon a tale unfold, and there, amidst the lines, your own name doth appear. All did lend their ears to the sound. Her utterances, her cadence, the hubris. What dost thou consider the finest aspect? I uttered not a word. I merely allowed it to unfold, my device grasped lightly in my palm. I cast not a glance in her direction. I beheld all others around me. Uncle Tim Didst blink, with great deliberation, as he gently placed his glass upon the table. Mine own mother appeared as though a cruel hand had struck the very breath from her bosom. Jordan stood still, fork poised in midair, as if time itself had been halted around him. Fair Ellie, with grace, bestowed upon me a gentle nod from yonder table. She had ever been aware that a certain disquiet lingered in the essence of Valerie. Thus arrived the conclusion of the missive, feigning a quest for self-discovery, or some such folly. Verily, I say unto thee, he doth approach the age of 30 summers. I did declare unto Jordan, should he find himself in such a plight, I would cast him from my kin. The hush that ensued was charged with a palpable intensity. Dense. Not a soul did exhale. None did stir. And then Valerie did burst forth in laughter. A frail and tremulous utterance, resembling more the discordant clatter of a malfunctioning contraption than the harmonious notes of a mortal voice. Pray, do indulge me, she exclaimed, casting her gaze about as if we were all privy to some clandestine jest. It was a matter of utmost secrecy. It was not my intention for him to catch wind of such words. Individuals do express their grievances. All souls do find occasion to express their grievances from time to time. Yet thou didst intend it. I did declare, remaining composed. Indeed, the hour of twilight you have spoken of. No soul did compel thee. Ryan, cast not thine eyes upon the stage of excess. She did snap, her voice taking on a keen edge. Text 'tis true. I have ever urged thee to strive for greater heights. Such is the essence of affection. To label me a disgrace, dost thou call it love? I didst raise an eyebrow. She didst part her lips once more, yet Uncle Tim did interject. Valerie, I beseech thee, cease thy actions. She stood as still as a statue, her breath caught in the web of time. Though her brother's voice was soft, it bore a gravitas that resonated deeply, more than I had ever gleaned from his lips in times past. He cast his gaze upon her, then turned it towards me. Good Sir Ryan, I beseech thee to pardon the unfortunate words that reached thine ears. Thou ought not to have been addressed in such a manner. Not by kinship. Valerie's visage contorted in a most distressing manner. Art thou in favor of his cause? No soul ought to endure such treatment, quoth he with simplicity. And thus, in an instant, the gaze of all returned to her once more. All her years of sly grins and cutting jests, all the myriad ways in which she had pricked at my soul, or at any whom she considered beneath her, were laid bare as if under the scrutiny of a relentless lens. No soul stood forth to shield her from the tempest of disdain. No soul did share in merriment. For the first occasion in her existence, Valerie found herself solitary amidst a gathering of souls who at last perceived her true essence. She arose, causing the vessels to clatter about her. I shall not remain in this place to endure such assaults. This is most absurd. Forsooth, my mother didst utter her voice for the very first time. Softly, with a gentle whisper. Fair Valerie, thou didst strike first against him. Valerie's eyes widened in astonishment, as if struck by an unseen force. She cast her gaze about, perchance anticipating a gallant soul to deliver her from her plight. Jordan did not deign to meet her gaze. With a haughty breath, she seized her purse from the chair's embrace and strode with fervor towards the threshold. All remained as statues in their places. No soul did pursue her steps. And thus, in a fleeting moment, she vanished from sight. Yet the stillness endured, as if we were ensnared in the reverberation of recent events. I took my seat once more, my mind adrift in uncertainty, pondering the course of action that lay before me. Mine hands did tremble slightly. It was not my intention to present the voicemail in such a manner. I pondered the notion of addressing her in seclusion, perchance to reveal the matter to my mother in due course. Yet in that instant, when she beamed and summoned me forth as though she had not laid waste to my spirit the eve prior, a certain something within me did break, perchance that which hath lingered for many a year. I cast mine eyes about. Some visages were struck with astonishment. Some did express a measure of compassion. Others appeared weary, as if the weight of the world rested upon their shoulders. Then, for the first time all day, Jordan did utter a word. His voice did possess a gentle softness. "Good sir, I was unaware that she uttered such words. Pray forgive me." I did acquiesce with a gentle nod. "Thou art not to blame. She doth present herself in such a manner. With all and sundry, even I." Our discourse waned, leaving naught but silence in its wake. Yet his utterances lingered in the atmosphere. In them, a novel essence did stir. Not entirely remorseful, not entirely unity. Yet, a semblance of it doth remain. There was an air of implication that this matter extended beyond my own concerns. Perchance the dominion of Valerie, marked by subtle malice and treachery veiled in shadows, hath inflicted wounds upon many a heart, unbeknownst to the multitude. The remainder of the repast was fraught with discomfort, to put it mildly. None possessed a hearty craving for sustenance any longer. A handful of souls endeavored to alter the atmosphere. Uncle Tim did utter a jest most arid. Mine own cousin Laura did distribute pie as though we were still feigning that all was well. Yet the air had shifted. A rift had emerged. Though it brought forth anguish, it bore the weight of necessity. In the twilight hours, when all had departed and the abode lay in a state of quietude, I lingered to lend my hand in the tidying of our surroundings. In the heart of our humble abode, my mother and I found ourselves in the kitchen, engaged in the noble task of cleansing the dishes, side by side, as the warmth of companionship enveloped us. The gentle murmur of the faucet broke the stillness for a time. At last, her voice did break the silence. With a gentle voice, she expressed her pride in him. In that moment, I held my tongue, choosing silence over speech. I merely inclined my head, the weight in my throat too great to utter a word. Mine eyes did not weep, not at that time. Yet a certain tenderness did awaken within my soul, a sentiment forged through the passage of time, tempered by the restraint of my tongue and the quiet surrender of my pride in the presence of certain souls. Forsooth, on this occasion, I had not partaken of it. And forsooth, another soul was compelled to take upon the burden. Our discourse waned as the night deepened, leaving but a silence between us. Believe my mother discerned my need for solitude to contemplate all that hath transpired, and in truth, I cherished that far beyond any words of encouragement. Journey home in the carriage was marked by a profound stillness, save for the gentle murmur of wheels upon the road, and the sporadic glimmer of lanterns casting their light upon the glass before us. Name of fair Valerie. Not partake in the act of opening it. Even peruse the forward, the visage of the screen. Found myself unprepared for the tempest that ensued, for that message had struck with a force I had not foreseen. Many souls possessed tales to tell, cast aside or entombed in the depths of memory. A remark in this place, a jest therein, trivial matters, seemingly unworthy of discourse in the moment, yet they have etched their marks upon the soul nonetheless. The message echoed forth, akin to a fissure in a great barrier, threatening to unleash the torrent within. Once it did rend asunder, all that was within began to cascade forth. It was Ellie who did send the first missive to me. She did acquiesce, saying, "Very well. Though fraught with tension, it shall be remembered as a tale of great renown." For many a year, I have longed to express my thoughts to her. Then did my cousin Laura send me a missive upon the platform of Instagram. Laura did send a missive, proclaiming that I appeared weary, even on the day of mine own nuptials. Who dost utter such words? Gratitude be thine for undertaking what others dared not pursue. Once more, Jordan did send forth a missive. Strange it may seem, yet thou hast roused me from a slumber most profound. Throughout the span of my existence, I have tread lightly in her presence, as if upon fragile shells. Each missive did impart a sense of buoyancy upon my spirit, as though I were not mad. Perchance all those instances when I departed from a gathering of kin, feeling diminutive or askew or tinged with a sense of shame, were not mere figments of my imagination. Perchance it was not I, and thus the discourse among the assembled took place. Verily, we do possess a gathering of kin in the realm of digital discourse. Name the crew, for my uncle fancies himself more dashing than he truly is. In the usual course, one encounters but a procession of jestful images, tender portraits of infants, and the rare missive of joyous birthday salutations. Yet lo, just 3 days hence from the feast of gratitude, fair Valerie did dispatch a missive. Valerie did send a missive, proclaiming, I believe the hour hath come for us to discourse upon the events that transpired. There hath been much ado about naught, and I shall not permit mine honor to be sullied in such a manner. Thus began the descent of her fortunes. In the beginning, silence reigned supreme, as none dared to utter a word. Then spake Ellie in response. Ellie did inquire, Is this an overreaction? Thou didst unwittingly cast aspersions upon Ryan, branding him a disgrace in a missive thou thought to be private. Valerie did convey. In the shadows of secrecy, words oft spoken bear no true intent. It is but a common occurrence. Jordan didst send a missive, thou didst mean it. Verily, thou hast uttered such words for many a year. The ephemeral dance of the typing bubbles flitted in and out for a spell. Then Uncle Tim did interject. Uncle Tim did declare, Valerie, thou hast brought shame upon thyself. Verily, it is not the blame of another soul. Thou shalt not cast the blame upon Ryan for thine own utterances. She sought to turn her course. Valerie didst send a missive. Am I now cast as the villain for holding to mine own standards? Mine heart doth hold great concern for the honor of this kin's name. Mine heart was heavy with concern for Ryan. I did respond, Thou didst label me a mere waste of space. That matter holds no weight. Such is the essence of cruelty. There were an abundance of typing bubbles. Then, in a most unexpected turn, Valerie did unleash her fury. Verily, a lengthy discourse awaits. Majestic letters, bold and grand. Subtle jabs cloaked in the guise of sincerity, lamenting her unwavering truthfulness. How she doth stand alone, bold enough to voice what all others dare not utter, whilst the kin hath grown tender and theatrical since we began to place emotions above the truths that bind us. She didst even draw forth the card of my countless sacrifices for this kin. What a jest it was! Forsooth, Valerie's manner of engaging in affairs was to arrive tardily, present confections procured from the market, and whilst in attendance, to spend the entirety of the gathering remarking upon the girth gained by some and the weariness apparent in others. At that moment, Laura did utter the very thoughts that dwelt in the minds of us all. Fair Valerie, dost thou know what Laura hath conveyed? Thou art most wearisome. Each occasion we convene, thou dost bring forth a sense of despair upon another's heart. Forsooth, we have allowed this matter to linger through the sands of time, for thou art of our own blood. Yet kinship doth not confer invulnerability. It doth signify a measure of responsibility. That did unleash a torrent. Voices began to rise in chorus. Most splendidly, yet steadfastly, tales did emerge. Once did Valerie cast her scorn upon Ellie for choosing not to pursue the hallowed halls of graduate study. In that moment, she did declare to Jordan's former beloved that she lacked the beauty requisite to join their esteemed lineage. In that moment, she declared me overly tender-hearted after the misfortune of losing my employment and sought to distance herself from my plight. Each tale layered upon the previous, crafting an unmistakable portrait of one who had long donned the crown of authority at our cost, and who, at last, faced the rare utterance of refusal. And then she did snap. She hath departed from the circle of discourse. Verily, with great fervor, Valerie hath departed from the discourse. Lo, a mere 10 minutes hence, my device did vibrate with a herald of tidings, for Valerie had shared a missive upon the realm of Facebook. Complete and utter disarray before the eyes of the multitude. At first, it eluded my gaze, yet Ellie did capture it in a moment's glance. Never have I known such treachery in my existence. In my earnest endeavors, I have sought to aid this household, striving to uphold the virtue of honesty among its members. Yet now I perceive myself encircled by frailty and a sense of unwarranted privilege. If to uphold virtue casts me as the rogue, then let it be so. I shall withdraw from thy tumult and offer my prayers for you all, particularly Ryan. She hath marked me. She hath marked me. The missive garnered but 3 tokens of approval, all bestowed by kin of yore, whom we have not laid eyes upon in many a season. In the interim, remarks began to pour forth, with many suggesting notions such as, perchance it is time to withdraw from the realm of social discourse, or at times, true advancement lies in heeding rather than responding. Jordan didst remark, with simplicity, that this doth not aid the cause. Pray, cease thy actions. 2 hours hence, she did erase the post. By the week's end, it became evident that Valerie had irrevocably severed her ties. Not for eternity, perchance familial ties are intricate, yet sufficiently so that she would not rebound as she once did. Her entreaties through the device met with silence. Her attempts to evoke remorse fell upon deaf ears. She did venture to send me another missive. She did declare, I fervently wish thee joy. Thou hast wrought a rift twixt my kin and me. I made no response. Forsooth, I found joy within my heart, not in a manner most trivial, yet perchance a touch of triviality may be found therein. Yet, it is chiefly in the manner that arises from the resolute act of asserting one's own worth, and the profound revelation that the cosmos does not unravel upon such a declaration. Forsooth, there are moments when to voice one's thoughts doth not render thee the source of strife, but rather, it doth unveil the true nature of the matter at hand. Alas, path ahead for Valerie remains shrouded in uncertainty. As I last did hear, she was confiding in our shared kin that she was contemplating the company she keeps during festive times, which, truth be told, doth seem a triumph for all parties concerned. As for myself, I find myself in a state of fair contentment. The household now doth dwell in a hushed serenity, less grand, yet it doth seem more wholesome. Fewer cautious steps upon fragile shells, and instead, a deeper bond of sincerity. Individuals engage in discourse with one another, rather than merely skirting the edges of conversation. Verily, the Thanksgiving of the year 2024 shall be etched in memory for myriad reasons. Lo, it hath been several moons since, and all hath found its rightful place in the most splendid manner. The forthcoming assembly of kin was diminished in number, for Valerie was absent, and none inquired as to the reason why. The fare was of a superior flavor. The discourse flowed with greater ease. It seemed as though a gathering of souls, drawn together by a shared desire for companionship, rather than mere attendance born of duty. Though I would not declare that I found joy in the unfolding of events, I did experience a semblance of tranquility. For the first time in many a year, I found not the need to diminish my essence to conform to another's vision of my being. I ceased to express regret for unraveling the complexities of life in my own time. It hath come to my attention that the bond of kinship doth not grant license for one to treat another with disdain. Respect doth not spring forth unbidden. It is won through toil, and at times, it is restored to its rightful place. Since the fateful events unfolded, the bond betwixt Jordan and myself hath indeed deepened. How curious it is that such matters unfold in this manner. Our discourse hath deepened, transcending mere familial matters to embrace the weighty truths of existence. Existence, burden, the strange burden of anticipations. It appears we were both striving to attain a measure that was never truly articulated by any soul. What dost thou seek now? We embark upon the creation of a novel endeavor. Improved. Regarding fair Valerie, since that final missive, her silence hath lingered unbroken. Perchance her ire yet lingers. Perchance she doth await a humble apology from another. Yet I shall not diminish once more to ease her contentment. No longer do I seek her approval. At times, the wisest course for one's own spirit, and for the souls of others, is to cease the charade that a shattered thing is intact. That is not treachery. Verily, that is the essence of truthfulness. Pray, dost thou seek the truth? Verily, I take great pride in mine own self.